Relationships are complicated, and whether you have been together for 2 weeks or 2 decades, communication is the constant puzzle that needs to be figured out. When your partner's emotional needs are met, or as we are going to refer to it today, your partner's love tank is full, and they are feeling secure with your love. Everything in life looks brighter. They are more willing to reach higher potentials in life. However, when a person's love tank is empty, they may feel used and empty, not loved. They will not be striving to reach their potential or encourage you in any way, let alone feel the need to participate in a love relationship. There are 5 primary love languages. Learning yours as well as your partner's love language can greatly assist you in keeping those love tanks full. The idea of love languages, simply put, is about our preferences in how we give and receive love and affection in relationships. The love language framework can be very useful in helping us understand ourselves and our partner's needs better. Having compassion and honest communication with your partner is what makes the application of this knowledge possible. Coupled with genuine desire to share pleasure and a connection with each other. The first love language is words of affirmation. This would be using words that build up. There is tremendous power in words of affirming one another. Verbal compliments or words of appreciation are powerful, communicators of love. They are best expressed in simple yet straightforward statements or affirmations. For example, "You look amazing today." "I really appreciate you putting gas in my car." "Oh, those were the best tacos ever." The object of love is not getting something you want, but doing something for the well-being of the one you love. It is a fact that when we receive affirming words, we are far more likely to be motivated to reciprocate. Giving verbal compliments is only one form of words of affirmations. Another is encouraging words. Encourage means to inspire. We all have insecure areas that we need inspiration in. Encouragement can give your partner what they need to be inspired to accomplish the positive things they have lacked the courage to do. Another is, in order to communicate love verbally, we must use kind words. However, they also must be backed with our kind attitude and body language in order to be able to be received genuinely. For example, if we are snotty and reply with such a tone using sweet words like, "I'd be delighted to take out the garbage, dear." It's not always easy. However, the rewards will speak for themselves over time. Love language number 2, quality time. This would be giving someone your undivided attention. I'm not saying sitting in the same room on your phones. In doing that, the phone has your attention, not your partner. Quality time would be turning off your social media and electronic devices, looking at each other, and actually talking. Give each other undivided attention. This means taking a walk or going out for dinner and actually, oh yes, looking at each other and talking. Is that a new concept? An essential aspect of quality time is togetherness. This is not to be confused with proximity. I'm not talking about just 2 people sitting in the same room. Togetherness has to do with focused attention. This does not mean we have to spend our time gazing into each other's eyes. It is doing something together and giving your full attention to your partner. Not dividing your attention between the phone and your partner, however, actually engaging with one another in a conversation. Another essential aspect is quality conversation. Just as the words of affirmation has many dialects, so does the language of quality time. One of the most common is that of quality conversations. This would be you and your partner are sharing your experiences, thoughts, feelings, and desires in a friendly, uninterrupted context. Most individuals who complain that their partner does not talk to them are not speaking literally that they never speak a word to them. They mean they seldom participate in a sympathetic dialogue. If your partner's primary love language is quality time, such dialogue is crucial to their emotional sense of being loved. So to be clear, there is a distinct difference from the first love language, affirmations, words of affirming, focus on what we are saying, whereas quality conversations focus on what we are hearing. So if I am sharing my love for you by means of quality time, and we are going to spend that time in conversation, that means I will focus on drawing you out, listening sympathetically to what you have to say. I will ask questions in a manner that will help me genuinely understand your thoughts and feelings and desires. Love language number 3. Receiving gifts. Gifts are a visual symbol of love. Visual symbols of love are more important to some than others. That is why some people have different opinions of wedding rings. For some, the symbolism is crucial to them feeling love. Some people hardly wear theirs. Others never remove them. As a mother, I remember my children bringing me flowers from the yard. They were showing love. The gift does not have to have a high dollar amount. It is the symbolism of the love they are sharing or perhaps receiving. For the person who has a partner that receiving gifts is their primary love language and feels like you are horrible at picking out gifts, congratulations. You have just made the first discovery in becoming a great lover. You and your partner speak different love languages, and now you get to become proficient at giving gifts. This is one of the easiest love languages to learn. You can start by making a list of all the gifts your partner has expressed excitement about receiving. It doesn't matter who they were from. It will simply give you ideas of the types of things they enjoy. The types of things they enjoy receiving. A big tip, do not wait for that special occasion to give the gift. Almost anything you give will be received as an expression of love. Love language number 4, acts of service. Your partner does things that they know you would like done. They seek to please you by doing things for you, serving you to express love for you. Such as cooking, cleaning, washing your car, taking out the garbage, trimming the shrubs, doing the upkeep on your car. They require thought and planning, time, effort, and energy. When done with a positive spirit, they are definitely expressions of love. The Book of 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman dives deep into issues around this very subject as to different roles that have been expected by stereotypes, male versus female, as well as how to avoid being or feeling like a doormat versus a lover. The 5th and final love language is physical touch. We know that physical touch is an important way of communicating emotional love. Many Research projects conducted with babies have made that conclusion. Babies who are held, hugged, developed a healthier emotional life than those who are left for long periods of time without physical contact. Physical touch is also powerful in communicating feelings and emotions in a relationship. Holding hands, kissing, embracing, as well as sexual intercourse are all ways of communicating emotional love to one's partner. For many individuals, physical touch is their primary love language. Without it, they feel unloved. With it, their emotional tank is filled, and they feel secure in the love from their partner. Physical touch can make or break a relationship. It can communicate hate or love. A recap of the 5 love languages are: number 1 is words of affirmation. Number 2 is quality time. Number 3 is receiving gifts. Number 4 is acts of service. The final one, number 5, is physical touch. A great reference guide is the book of the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. I'm Wendy Johnson with Wendy Johnson's Life Coaching and St. Paul's Free University.
How do you find a partner as a single parent? A single parent has a primary responsibility to their kids, but also it's a primary responsibility to take care of yourself, because you can't take care of your kids if you don't take care of yourself first. So it is actually important to have a social life and to give yourself time to explore other relationships, perhaps new partners. The recommendation that I have would be try to make sure when you're dating to not have your kids be meeting them for a long time. Date people and your kids may never see them for quite a long time. If you can set that up, that's the best thing. Meet them somewhere. And a lot of times it's great to go out in groups so that you can enjoy a group of people instead of just one. If you have a single parent group, for example, there can be male single parents and female single parents and gay single parents that can all have their kids doing things together. And that's actually a positive thing for the kids when there's a larger group of people that they can relate male role models and female role models and mixed role models and have a wider range of people that they know a little more intimately than just acquaintances that they may see. So when you join, for example, a single parent group, you can create social events and have kind of a family feeling with people that you choose from this group. So that is a very positive thing for your kids. And having the thought about dating, eventually you will want to introduce him to or her to, or the we, they, to your kids. And I think that the best thing to do when you do that is to make sure you have an activity that you do together outside of the home for the first few times. And I'm just mentioning that because it's such a worry that children, there's been a lot of statistics about step parents, and we don't want you to get into that situation inadvertently. It's certainly, we never want that, but you really need to be very, very careful to make sure you're not being exploited that way for your children. And I think that we, as human beings, are watchful, that we will be safe, and can find different ways to get our needs met and have our children's needs met as well. So dating is good. And I think that you need to find ways to fit it into your family life and fit it into your personal life, however you can. Trading off, by the way, with a friend, having the kids spend the night with a friend who's married or single is a great way to have free babysitting. Hint.
Welcome back to Permaculture Relationships. I'm Daniel Mark Schwartz with offgridpermaculture.com, and I'm here today with phase 4 of the 7 phases of love, applying to it a permaculture design principle. This phase is what I call pattern understanding. So if you're just jumping into the series, you may be wondering, what do I mean by permaculture relationships? Well, permaculture comes from the words permanent and agriculture, but also human culture. And so permaculture seeks to design systems where human beings and human society can grow and function throughout time without leading ourselves down the path to destruction, which we seem to be on already. And one element of this that I find to be left out of the conversation more than it should be is human relationships, and in this case specifically, romantic relationships and coupling. Permaculture seeks to use the ways of nature to learn her patterns, to learn her designs, and to appropriate them and use them in the design of human systems, and to integrate our human systems into nature. So throughout the course of this talk, I'm going to be referencing phenomena in nature and try to match and pattern ourselves after how nature works, so that hopefully our systems will be as resilient and long-lasting as the natural ecosystems that we were born into and that we find around ourselves. So phase 4 is deepening. This is the phase of the 7 phases of love prepared by David M. Masters, where the relationship has gone through the early lovebird phase. It's gone through, now we're becoming a couple, and we see ourselves conceptually as a man and woman, or whatever particular orientations you happen to be. And now we're even past the phase of that storming phase, where we've sobered up and we're getting into the hard times. In fact, we're getting past these, and now we're getting into the phase of normalcy, to where being a couple is just part of the day-to-day life. And this is one of the key phases when you're building a long-term relationship. Right now is the time where you can really start making those big gains towards having a super powerful relationship that will elevate you from a normal existence to that of a super-powered existence, and make your systems so much more enjoyable and so much productive. The reason why this phase is so critical to building a strong and resilient relationship is that most of our life comes down to little patterns that we repeat over and over and over again without thinking about it. If you read the book Fast Thinking versus Slow Thinking, Thinking Fast versus Slow, it covers the Nobel Prize winning work of a psychologist who looked into how the human brain works, and specifically found that human beings, the majority of the way that we think is slow thinking, which means we're not using much energy, but we tend to do the same things over and over again. We're not really deeply analyzing it. And inevitably, any relationship is going to fall in the realm of slow thinking, of habits, of day-to-day things we do unconsciously or subconsciously, because all of human existence really mostly falls into that category. It's only very few key moments when our brain kicks up into the full fast thinking mode where we are able to, consciously address situations that come up. So if we're going to build a strong relationship, we need to incorporate the elements of that strong relationship into our daily habits. And I incorporated here a picture of a chicken because the chicken is essentially become a symbol of permaculture. And one of the things that we love about chickens is their habit of pecking and of scratching. And they just do that impulsively throughout the day. And that habit of pecking and scratching could be a problem if we put them in the wrong situation, right? They could tear up a garden or, root out seedlings, and that would be horrible. But when you put them in the right situations, that natural habit can be used to further the growth of new grounds, to help clear areas that need to be cleared and could be more productive. So when we're approaching our habits, we need to think, one, is this a good habit? That, how can this habit be put to good use? And occasionally, like certain animals and certain pests, we might look at our habits and say, that's not a place for this. Where, in the homestead, in the permaculture system that I'm building, in the relationship that I'm building, and it's time to get rid of it. And so we'll look into that a little more. The first thing that you need to do when in this phase of relationship is to really take the time to observe the patterns that are coming up, to observe what habits are manifesting themselves, because so often we don't even really realize that they're happening, right? That's part of the slow thinking. We're not thinking really deeply about it, they're just happening. So we need to be especially wary of subconscious and unconscious moments that we have with our loved ones and that our loved ones have with us, and to be aware when what they're doing is coming out of intention and what they're doing is coming unintentionally. Likewise, we need to be keeping our eye on the big picture of what these patterns mean. Usually, as we move from the more intentional, deeply romantic phase and the storming phase of the relationship, these unconscious habits that come up in this fourth phase kind of just seep in over time as we pay less and less attention. And they come in the little moments where we're not even really thinking about the relationship. And so one thing we need to do is step out of ourselves periodically and look at what this little habit means for the relationship as a whole, right? I may be, failing to clean up the bathroom after I use it, and that may not be a big deal in the short term, but it could be that that is showing disrespect to my partner, and then that disrespect piles up and ends up to a significant detriment to our relationship. So having the perspective to go back and to look at different times through what your day-to-day patterns mean to the health of the relationship can go a long way to not doing something stupid that you don't even realize is causing so many problems or may cause so many problems unconsciously, and ending or hampering a relationship that could have been great just because you weren't aware. So I'm going to go over 2 methods at the end of this talk to how you can help you get through that. The next thing that we're going to do when we're in this phase of a relationship is to make sure we're establishing proper give and take, right? No relationship will survive or deserves to survive if everybody isn't getting their needs met and if we're not on an equal basis, right? We're not their mother, they're not our mother, they're not our father, we're not their father. Partners must be equally matched and must, not necessarily have all the same skill sets, but they must be contributing skills and resources and effort of equal value into the relationship. Be very wary of complacency from both sides, because at first you're going to show your partner your best, right? But now we're in the phase where people are going to get lazy. And so when you notice these issues coming up from either side, either take steps to correct it, or if it's your partner and you're noticing that you're not getting your needs met, you need to be gently, but be very clear when they're starting to cross the line, and be very vigilant, because they may not even realize that it's a problem. They may not even realize that they're crossing the line. But the longer you let it go, the deeper these patterns are built into the relationship, and the harder will be to change. So as soon as you realize a gentle nudge in the right direction, repeated nudge in the right direction, could make the difference between a relationship lasting and a relationship falling apart. And lastly, before we get into the methods, repetition is absolutely key here. Right? In nature, you see that in this example, a fern is actually made of, every leaf is essentially another tiny fern, and every bit of that leaf is essentially another tiny fern in that, right? And relationships are the same way. It's not about one event, or that time that this happened, or that big romantic proposal. It's really about what you do every day, every hour, and every minute with that person. And so by being vigilant, you can look at the parts that work, the parts that are healthy, the parts that are going in the right direction, and just allow those to multiply. Put procedures in place to where you can make that good moment, that good hour happen again and again and again throughout, through habit and repetition. Likewise, as you identify parts that are not serving the relationship, that are detrimental to the relationship, make sure, put processes in place that make those less common to happen. You don't necessarily have to stop every bad situation that comes up. Things are going to get through occasionally, but the less that you can make them happen, and the more procedurally that you can make that happen to where they're not coming along as often, the better you will be. So first method of the two methods that you can use in this phase is, one, identify your habits. Identifying habits is difficult, but it's key to making this work. And so this is going to help you and your partner identify their habits, which will be essential for phase two, or for method two. So here's essentially three different little things you could do. One, set an alarm for every 73 minutes and just write down what you're doing when it rings, right? A lot of what we do throughout the day, we're not even really conscious of, where the time went. You might be, wow, it's suddenly 10:30. Where did the morning go? Setting a timer, it doesn't have to be exactly 73 minutes, but I find that to be a good time frame. Lets you go over it at the end of the day and say, give you little snapshots into your day. And it's going to reveal over time a lot of how you spend your day. And you may see things popping up again and again and again that you're not intending to do, but you are doing. And you're saying, well, maybe this is not how I should be spending my time. Another thing you can do before bed, take the time to either write down or just review in your head when you're laying down, maybe as you're trying to go to sleep. Reverse order. So what you just did, what you did before you went to bed, what you did before that, back and back and back throughout the day. And by switching the order, you're going to end up remembering a lot more. You're actually going to improve your memory and your psyche as well by doing this, but you'll also get to see in a way that you haven't seen before. It's almost like when an artist is doing a portrait and then they'll flip it in the computer, or they'll put a mirror there to look at it the other way, and they'll see defects that they weren't able to see because they were too close to it as they were drawing. In that same way, you'll see things that happen throughout the day that you weren't necessarily aware of, and it may shed light on habits that are either beneficial and you're glad you're doing it, or aren't beneficial and need to be changed. Third, you can ask loved ones, friends, people who live with you, children, your partner, what your habits are, things that you do that you don't necessarily realize you're doing. And oftentimes the people that we live with know a lot about us that we don't know about ourselves. So, don't let that get to be like an accusatory experience. Do it in a lighthearted way, but you can shed so much light on your activities by asking the people around you what you're doing that you may not realize yourself. Method two is figuring out and moving your habits in the right direction. So this is kind of a sit down and write exercise. It's a good thing to do with your partner over time. And I do have this in a handout available on my website, offgridpermaculture.com/relationships. So you can print that out and do it with them, or do it alone if they're not, amiable to doing it. But the more that you can work this out, the better. So first thing, identify the top best, healthiest habits that you have that are good for the relationship, and write those down. Secondarily, identify the worst, most detrimental habits that you have, and write those down, the 5. Now you do it for the other person. So for your partner, identify their top 5 best habits and their top 5 most detrimental habits, and they'll ideally do that same thing for you. Now look at those, compare them, combine them. You'll learn a lot just from doing that. And then what I would do is sit with your partner and say, okay, for the next 30 days, we're going to each choose one that we think we can deal with, and that will be our focus as a couple, is to get rid of or modify this habit in a way that is beneficial for the relationship. So some habits you may just need to cut out. If you're somebody who leaves a mess, maybe you just need to not leave a mess. If you're somebody that doesn't show enough affection, maybe you need to show a little more affection, right? And some habits you can modify. Maybe you're doing the laundry, but you're not doing it quite the right way, or you're making efforts, but the efforts aren't going quite the way you want. So maybe you need to adjust your efforts just a little bit. Oftentimes, so this is a general concept. When you're getting rid of a habit, it's almost always better to replace that habit with something else rather than just say, I'm not going to do blank. So think about a habit that, if you're removing a habit, instead of modifying one, think of a habit that you can put in its place, which is beneficial to the relationship. So this has been Phase 4, Pattern Understanding of Permaculture Relationships. I have the slides and the handouts for this session, as well as all the other sessions on offgridpermaculture.com/relationships. This has been Daniel Mark Schwartz. Thanks for watching, and if you're watching us live, be sure to come back tomorrow for Phase 5.
What is a power couple? If you've contemplated the melding of two powerful love personalities into one, you may have asked, what is a power couple? And could you and your partner ascend into such a powerful love relationship? Discover what does power couple mean and find out if this appeals to you and your partner. If you're ready to amplify the efficacy of your relationship as the ultimate gift to the community and the world at large, being a power couple is not for everyone. But if you have the desire and ability, the two of you combined can bring so much more together to the world than either of you could independently. Hand in hand, you can bless others and make the world a better place. Now, you're no slacker in real life, and you may be considered an A-type personality, a leader, or a powerful person. And it would be no surprise if you were attracted to another similarly powerful person. Well, it is more common for opposites to attract like an A and a B-type personality. When two powerful people get together, the potential of combining these two powerful forces of nature can be exponentially magnificent, or it can become a chaotic nightmare. So what is a power couple? It is two powerful people uniting their gifts and abilities in love for the greater good. And knowing the potential for this becoming a toxic tragedy may give you a real advantage when challenges come to the surface. Know also that you'll have to give more attention to nurturing this powerful romance than your peers. Be forewarned that far more power couples do not make it for the long haul. We all cheer them on for making the decision to go for it, and we are heartbroken on their behalf when it all comes crashing down. Power coupling can be scary business, but there's no doubt for the people who have dared to give it a go and focused on deepening their relationship and sacrificing their egos to unite sincerely, they have succeeded amazingly. To spark your imagination, here are 7 power couples that you might use for inspiration, such as Eleanor and Franklin D. Roosevelt, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis and John F. Kennedy, Johnny Cash and June Carter, Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, Kevin Bacon and Keira Sedgwick, Jay-Z and Beyonce, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Okay, you've set your sights on or are already in a relationship with a co-creative, powerful being. Depending on the demands put on you every day, when you're out there in the world kicking ass and taking names, you can be under a lot of stress. And you wouldn't have made it this far if you hadn't already found ways to deal with this stress and come out on top. So you're creating, managing, delegating, negotiating, making decisions, and giving orders. Whether you were born with the ability to get things done or if these were learned skills doesn't really matter. What does matter is that this is who you are in the world, and the world looks at you and they are impressed. It's safe to assume that you would be considered an A-type personality. You've carved out your niche in the world, and you are achieving new heights in your specialized field, and there's plenty of room for you to grow and expand. Ain't nothing gonna slow your roll. Now, for the purposes of mating and having a successful love relationship, a solid B personality man or woman would make the best match for you. Someone who could use a little nurturing and leadership while effectively sharing the life that you are able to give him or her. Someone who would respect you and be grateful for the lifestyle they can enjoy. Someone who understands that you've got an hour-and-a-half commute in unbearable traffic after a stressful day, doing what you do to get things done, and by God, things better be okay at home. The last thing you need is more drama and trauma, right? And your B-type personality partner gets that and is willing to put off his or her needs, waiting for a more appropriate time when you have the bandwidth to see to his or her needs. Now, what happens when you're coming home to another mover and shaker mate? Someone who is your equal, equally powerful in the world, who has also been moving about the world in a massive flurry of activity. What if you're both coming home from a stressful day at work and need to let off steam? This is the toxic combination, and it's why most powerful couples fail. But you can manage a successful power couple relationship if you can find the wherewithal to be thinking about how to keep your private home life separate from your public life. Both can be powerful, but the power must be completely different. Believe me. You do not want to try these success tactics that are so effective in your public life on your power mate. He or she will see it coming a mile away. And if your mate takes a defensive position, Armageddon is on the horizon and there may be bloodshed. The good news for the power couple is that your partner understands or gets you in a way that no one else could. He or she knows exactly what you're going through. And even if the two of you are successful in totally different arenas, you both get it. You will be miles ahead towards a successful, loving power couple relationship by creating transitional space between your public powerhouse and your private life. And I've found that power couples need time and sacred space to transition from their fierce lion or lioness persona to their loving partner persona. And there should be a clear difference. I know a power husband who has an hour-and-a-half commute from his full-on powerful business environment, and he stops by the drive-in coffee stand after work, gets a hot chocolate drink, and turns on the Christian radio station as he merges onto the highway. Now, he's not a Christian, but he finds the music soothing, and by the time he gets home, he's ready to unite with his lover. Now, his power wife is keeping track of the time. She doesn't have that long commute, so she tries to manage her transition at approximately the same time as her husband's commute. But she's more likely to put on soft music, meditate, soak in a hot bath, while filling the house with aromatic therapeutic scents. It's not important what you do. What is important is that you're creating a transitional space where you have the ability to decompress and transform from Godzilla to the loving man or woman you desire to be with your partner, and he or she is doing the same. This is on you. You need to find effective, non-destructive ways to help you wind down and transition as an expression of your love, honor, and respect for your sacred union. Making room to spend quality time together outside of your hectic power schedules is a given. You need to have these special times away from the hustle and bustle to align and just get lost in each other's presence. It is likely that in these moments of private, prolonged, bonded solitude, that your best ideas will emerge of co-creative ideas that will have a huge impact on your family, friends, community, the greater community, and the world at large. So make time to get away, to co-create, live a better life, your best life, and make the world a better place. And I think it's really important for a power couple to have a powerful support system. It would serve your best interest to have a therapist and a relationship coach on board, and the more powerful you are, the more support you might need. Maybe each partner has his or her own therapist and relationship coach. I'm just saying. And if you're doing it, and you are a power couple, by all means, you are becoming an incredible force of nature, and the two of you can bring so much to the world. You can grow in your relationship by combining your special powers and abilities. God bless the power couples. And God bless you for being willing to go forth against all odds to be the next power couple for the rest of us to admire. Thank you for all that you do. And if you need help or want to help other power couples, you can contact my friends at St. Paul's Free University, or you can contact me. I'm David M. Masters, and you can find me at davidmmasters.com.
Hello and welcome to day 4. Today's topic is about deepening your relationship with your partner. So at this phase, you have been in a relationship for a while and maybe both decided that you're in it for the long term. So what are some ways that you can kind of get to know your partner on even a deeper level? You can ask some questions to kind of figure out what makes your partner tick. So today I have 7 questions that will help you deepen the understanding of your partner and get to know them on a deeper level. So question 1, would you ever want fame and why? And this question, some people want fame for attention. They're attention getting. They want to be actors, not because they, enjoy it for the career itself, but they would love to be famous celebrities and win an Oscar or win some kind of award. So when you ask why, you can find out that sometimes it's not about, having fans and signing autographs. It's more about maybe leaving a legacy behind or getting financial security. Like if your partner is a writer and they want to be famous, and sell a lot of books and go on book tours and meet their fans and, sign autographs, but also, have that financial security and have something physical that they leave behind that maybe turns into a classic. So it's always good it's a fun question, but it's also good to follow up why, with the why part. Number 2, what is your biggest dream or goal? When we're younger, sometimes we have big dreams that often maybe get poo-pooed by our parents or teachers who say, oh, maybe you should try something else that's not realistic. So we kind of bury that And, when we're older, we still think about it, but we're afraid to share it because we don't want someone to make fun of us again. So it's important to maybe get your partner to open up about that. Like maybe they wanted to be an artist, but their parents were really worried that, that's not a very secure career. So they encouraged them to go into something else. So you could kind of help them, to rediscover those dreams and goals, maybe that they had when they were younger, and pursue them again and say, hey, that sounds fun. If you wanted to be an artist, why don't we take an art class together? Or you could even start out smaller and go to one of those paint-to-paint paces, or, go to the store and get a sketchbook and pencils and just have fun and start out small. And but I think it really helps not only deepen your understanding of your partner, but also, be like their own personal cheerleader. You could help them kind of rediscover some lost dreams that they had that maybe they buried, and helping you uncover that can also help deepen your connection with your partner. Number 3, your favorite childhood memory or fear. So again, this is good to find out, where your partner came from. It'd be really fun if they had a childhood memory and maybe they don't live in their hometown anymore. You could take a little road trip if you can, and maybe they can show you around to all their little favorite haunts when they were younger. Another one with the fears to maybe just kind of see, it might answer some questions of their insecurities, or what they're dealing with now. There might be certain things that they shy away from or don't like, and it might be connected to some small little trauma that happened to them when they were younger. So when we have a better understanding of our partner, we could also better help them to be supportive emotionally, or just even celebrating their life too. So number 4, what would you change about your relationship that you had with your parents or guardians? This is a good insight too into, for example, maybe both of you want to start a family. So if you ask, what are some things you do differently? It's a good insight to maybe how they take as a parent, or, what kind of things that they would like to see or change. There might be some insecurities. There are some things that they didn't like about themselves. Like maybe they were, wish that their parents would have encouraged them more in school, or, maybe they wish their parents would have been more supportive towards their artistic side, or let them be a little bit more freer and study other religions. I mean, whatever it might be. It's good to help kind of see that insight too of also how you can support them too. So if their parents, discourage them in one area, maybe that's where you can kind of encourage them in that area. So next question, what's your dream weekend getaway look like? So this is another fun question, where if money wasn't an issue and you can go anywhere for the weekend, where would you go? What would you do? Maybe on their dream weekend, they want to fly to the Mediterranean and go deep sea fishing. If that's not in your budget, maybe you can just go fishing locally. You can just kind of see what the underlying, wish is. If there's just an activity, they might want to just I want to go someplace sunny and warm, or I want to go someplace adventurous or relaxing, or maybe there's something that they've always wanted to try out. Sometimes those opportunities are more local than we realize. So, I had a friend who always wanted to go to Europe and said, I don't have the money. So I did a little research and found that, the most expensive thing was a plane ticket, but they can stay at hostels and there's cheap places to eat. So I was like, well, if you put away this amount of money every pay period, in a couple of years, you'd easily have the money. So there's always a way to find out. And it kind of just is a fun thing too, to just kind of plan and dream big together. So 6, one of my favorites is, when did you know that you loved me? And this is definitely a way to kind of help bond and strengthen your love for each other, is when you talk about, when was that moment when you guys fell in love? What was it about, each other that you realized, this is the person that, is for me? It's just a nice, sweet, romantic gesture to talk about, that point in your relationship where you fell in love. So it's a nice memory to have. And 7, what qualities do you find attractive? Not often people ask that or think about that. With my husband, he really valued someone who was a family person, who spent time, that was going to be a good parent, someone who was going to spend, where family was a really important value in their life. And for me, it was, I find someone who is smart but humble about it to be very attractive. When someone is very curious about life and how it, what makes things tick, and is curious about it and is very smart, I find that very, personally attractive. So those are some fun questions that I hope you try out and ask your partner, and get to know each other and have fun with it. So I will see you in our next video. Thank you.